We are live. Welcome to the Rome Show. Eric, how you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Appreciate you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Right. I like digital creators. I know you guys work very hard. You guys put a lot of time in. You guys are very creative. Once again, I appreciate you for coming on my podcast. For the people on my platform that don't know, can you tell them a little bit about your brand and what you do a little bit?
Yeah. I started out as an interior designer. I still do some of it on the side. But I am a podcaster. I have a podcast called Pro Series. I interview entrepreneurs from all around the world. Been lucky to have some NFL athletes, HGTV stars, just everybody in that has owned a business or starting to own a business. And then I also have a podcast called Off Topic where I just talk about everything under the sun. And then I make my own content as well.
Wow. So very busy man. So you have two different podcasts.
Yeah, well, the Pro Series is the main one. That's just the interview-based series that I have on with entrepreneurs. The other one's called Pro Series Off Topic, so it's kind of a branch off of it, and it's strictly really just by myself. I felt like I was pigeonholing myself into one sector of being like more of like a business-related podcast, and I wanted to talk about, country music and all this other stuff that I find interesting in the world. Being an avid podcast guest or a podcast listener, I want to listen and talk about different stuff other than just business all the time. So I created that one last year or the year before.
Nice. From your response, it makes me think. I know you heard this before. Like, they say podcasters or like if you're doing media or something, stick to one niche. Do you feel like you need to do a few?
Yeah, I definitely do a few. It started out, the podcast started as a content piece for my social media for just to help people with their real estate and the return on investments. And now it turned into an interior design podcast, an architectural podcast. And now it's kind of just a business related one. I just feel like I am still in a very small niche, but also broadening it a little bit so I could have a little bit more pull on who I could have on the podcast. But yeah, I think still to this day, you still need to stick with like a sector of a business or whatever to kind of catch on with a following.
Right. Nice. Yeah, I think you got to do a few too as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And is it just you or you have a team?
Just me. Yeah, I do all the editing, shooting. Even with when it comes to taking pictures, for the most part, it's me putting my phone on a tripod and kind of, putting on a timer or using my Apple Watch to take the pictures or the videos or whatever. So it's all me right now.
Right, man. Let's talk about like the grind, like doing podcasts, being a creator, like you said, the editing, the filming, being the host. I feel like a lot of people don't know how hard it is. You think it's hard, or you think it's like not that hard?
Oh yeah, it's super hard. Especially I have a full-time job. So I have a full-time job
Mm,
and I do this all on the side. So 9 to 5, I have a work job, and then after hours, I'm either recording podcasts. I always have 5 or 6 podcasts left in my back pocket just in case something comes up or if I'm away for work or whatever. Um, but it's a constant grind from the 5 to 9 and sometimes 5 to midnight sometimes. But and it's all self-taught stuff too. I didn't go to school for marketing or digital creation or any of that stuff. So it's just kind of watch YouTube videos and figure it out yourself. And I think you, as if you're creating your own brand, you know what you want. And uh, I just am wanting to work hard for it. Maybe one day have help, but at this point, I'm fine with it just being me.
right. Um, do you have like difficulties like doing like your scheduling like before work and then after, or it's like you got it now and it's like instant?
Like scheduling posts and stuff.
Yeah, like emailing,
Oh,
posting and
emailing is something I really struggle with. I think if anyone listening that I deal with a few podcast agencies that get me my guests. And a lot of the agents that reach out, it takes me a few days to get to them just because of work, life, everything, all the above. So it's hard to balance that all. But when it comes to posting, I've set, I always said to myself, and I also help people with their social media content creation and stuff. So I always say consistency is key. And I want to make sure I practice what I preach. So posting and scheduling the posts and everything is pretty easy to me because I know it's something in my mind. It's like a deadline. I have to get it done. So that part of it's easy. It's just like the emailing, the logistics side of it. It might be the hard part for me.
Okay. So you pretty much you got the hang. You're just like almost there.
Yeah, I mean, if I just had like an admin or somebody that kind of dealt with the emailing side and scheduling side, that'd be awesome.
Right. And I like how you said like the 5 to 9, and then
Yeah.
the 5 to midnight.
That's what it's
That's
constantly feels like. And then it's either even on the weekends as well. I shoot some, I mean, my podcast I do with entrepreneurs from all around the world. So time zones are crazy. So if they're in a different country and their time zone don't meet up with that 5 to 9 schedule during the week, I'm doing it on the weekend for, early in the morning, just to kind of match up what time zone they have so I could have them on.
right. I remember I had interviewed a doctor from Nigeria, and I had to do. I was like, for me, it was like 4 in the morning, and for her, it
Mm.
was like 1 in the afternoon, something
Okay.
crazy like that.
I've never done anything that early. My earliest has been 8 o'clock in the morning, so it's not that bad. But my
Right.
latest was, I think it was like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And I think it was also a doctor, but he was in the UK. Um, but yeah, it's probably the earliest and latest I've ever done one.
It's not bad. I think the latest I did was midnight. Yeah, midnight.
It's hard. Your brain's not working the best at that time. So I try to not do it. I try to do it in my key time, which is like dinner time or a little bit after dinner time. But um, yeah, you just do with what the guest schedule allows you.
Right. And since you're actually doing it like me, like with the full-time job, and then like the grind in the morning, before and after, um, what's some tips you could give to somebody who wants to do what we do?
Oh, I mean, I think you have to want it. There's so many people that want to do it and then they get distracted. So once they get distracted, they kind of lose interest. And I think if you really want to do something, you're going to make it happen. And if you're not going to make it happen, it's probably not meant for you. But if someone is trying to grind, just stay consistent. That's the biggest thing I could ever tell anybody. Consistency is everything. There's so many YouTubers out there that say they haven't gotten famous or gotten a lot of views until video 100. So it takes a while sometimes to get traction, and sometimes looking at those followers or the analytics of the videos or posts and stuff is hard to take on your mental health, but you just got to keep staying consistent.
Right. And basically doing what we do. I think like consistencies, that's like number one.
Hmm. Oh yeah, you have to stay consistent, or if you build. I always say this: there's so many clients that I help with consulting wise for social media. If someone goes to your social media page and you haven't posted in the last week, why should someone follow you? There's a reason why they want to follow you. If they're relating to you, or they want to be friends with you, or they just like your lifestyle, they're gonna want to see your posts. They're following you for a reason. So keep following, and because once you lose them, that's the downhill. It's just kind of like a business. If a business doesn't adapt to the times and stay relevant, they're gonna go out of business.
Absolutely. Um, what's one thing that you haven't done with your podcast yet that you want to do?
Hmm. I've always said I wanted to do like walk around. So I do a lot of podcasts with their interview base for, entrepreneurs, and I've done a lot of CEOs and stuff. I would love to do kind of like tie in my HGTV and my interior design background and kind of do like go to people's houses and do it and also get like a tour of the house too, which would be kind of cool. Have like kind of like a walk around kind of cribs type of video, to kind of give, or even go back to the starting place of that company and kind of do an interview from there. So more traveling, I think, would probably be really cool to do. And I always said doing a live audience podcast would be really fun.
Yeah, that would be fire. A live podcast audience. That'd be fire.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a lot more to that, and there's a lot. It's it's more nerve wracking. It's scary, but hey, it's people more and more are doing it, and there's like 5 years ago people were doing these small venues, but now they're doing these big arenas with podcasting, and people are coming out for them, and it's insane.
Right. How do you feel about the podcast industry? You think it's going to continue to grow, or you think it's going to stop eventually?
No, I think it could continue to grow. I mean, podcasting has been around for, 15, 20 years, but it really didn't get popular unless past 5 to 10. And I think it's just getting more and more popular just because of, it's most of it is unfiltered content, and it's not a lot of very polished content, meaning like the news wise or mainstream media. I think a lot of people are trying to get away from because they don't want to be told what to do or what to listen to or what to believe in their lives. They want to listen to people that are just completely unfiltered like themselves. So I think that's why podcasts have become so big, and I think they're just going to continue unless uh corporate or like corporate America kind of puts a hammer down and kind of puts restrictions on how people talk on podcast, which I don't think would happen, but I think because me and you, we don't work for a company to release a podcast. Anybody could really have a podcast and post it out. You really just need a microphone and a computer. So I don't think that will ever change, but I think it will always be, top tier media going forward.
Yeah, hopefully that never happens. Imagine like they get involved and then like they could say, for example, you only could put out 5 episodes a month or something like that.
hmm Yeah, and that's the scary part because there's so many TikTokers right now that are scared about a lot of what they built and a lot of the money that's coming into their they count on for their families or whatever through TikTok. It could be taken away from them, here shortly, which is sad, but that's kind of the same type of situation. So hopefully nothing like that happens to podcasting. I think um, because it is free to post a TikTok, but it's also a platform. So if there's no more podcast hosting sites, how do you post a podcast?
Right. That'll be crazy.
hmm
Hope that don't happen.
Oh, looks like it is going to happen. So for at least TikTok.
Right. Never know. How do you handle failures or setbacks?
Oh, I mean, failures and setbacks. I mean, failures, y- they're more of just like a building block for me to learn from. I think they make you a better person. They make you a better and stronger person. If you didn't have any failures or setbacks, you really haven't experienced life. I think we've all experienced it many times, and it helps you just learn from it and also makes you better at whatever your profession is. So if you're failing at podcasting, it just makes you that much better because you know how it felt at that time. So you're just going to work harder. It's easy to give up after a failure or a setback, but to me, it drives me even harder to get to the goals that I have.
Right. What's the most rewarding part of what you do?
Oh, networking. I mean, podcasting is a humongous networking tool that helps me with not just my side jobs, which is like my branding and everything, but also my main sales job that I have full time. It helps you with getting into clients that you've never been into before. You build these connections that are across the globe, you never know which that could help you out one day. So I think podcasting networking is huge, and even on social media networking, I met so many people just through Instagram that helped me with my business or helped me with my digital creations, podcasting, whatever. I think podcasting and just digital media in general networking is just the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the most biggest things. What's your daily routines like as far as like, waking up, um,
Yeah.
starting?
I don't think I really have like a set routine. Being in sales every day is different.
Right.
I might be in a different side of the state one day and then working from home the other day. So it's changes drastically, but like I always try to stay work till, dinner time, do my work, and then also exercise. I think exercising a huge key on mental health with work and digital creation, whatever, just kind of keeps you at calm. So that's probably like my biggest routine, but I'm not someone that likes to stay in a routine because I feel like it just gets boring. So I mean, my fundamentals stay the same. I still wake up and get dressed and everything and go to work, but that going to work might be different every day. Exercising might be different every day. So the fundamentals of the schedule stays the same, but the actual schedule itself is very fluid.
Right. Uh, hustler schedule.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, how do you handle work related stress or stress in general?
I think I work better under stress. I think it allows me to get stuff done faster. Sometimes when you're stressed or when you're not stressed, I feel like I'm not working myself hard enough, or I'm not, my goals aren't big enough. So I think stress is very healthy. But when I get too stressed, I really just need to exercise. I could go on a walk with my dog, um, just or listen to music, something to just completely get my mind off of it. Is the best way for me to at least de-stress.
The dog walker is real good. That's one of my things.
Yeah, it's an easy way that a lot of people just kind of get away with. And even if you don't have a dog, just go on a walk, go to a park. I know not everybody lives in a neighborhood that has a lot of walking trails or something, but go to a park. It's not that hard.
Yeah, it really helps too.
hmm
Um, how do you stay motivated during challenging times?
I think that end goal is always has to be in the back of your mind. When you lose motivation, I feel like you lose that main goal or the steps to get to that main goal. You have to. I don't know how many people out there are big manifestors, but I am, and I always like to speak stuff into existence. At least if in my head, I don't always have to say it like to everybody else. I'm a very. I think keeping a lot of that stuff to yourself is better in the long run, but I always like to have that goal and picture myself in that goal, so it makes me strive even harder to get to that goal. So motivation, you just have to remind yourself of where you're trying to end up.
Right, got to stay extra focused.
Oh yeah.
Um, in your vision, how do you define professional success?
Ooh, in my definition, I think just being happy with what you do in a professional standpoint that doesn't interfere with your mental health or your personal life. Being having the freedom to do what you love every day, but also not being pinned down to where you want to grow to is probably my definition of professional happiness and freedom.
Okay, that's a good one.
Thank you.
What's three things that you want to do with your podcast that is in your mind? Like, I don't know when, how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I think definitely the traveling part. I mean, I do it somewhat. I do some in-person ones that I travel to people's showrooms, but like I said before, I would love to travel to their houses. I think that's be awesome. Also, just branch out with my guests a little bit more. I'm doing really just entrepreneurs in general, but being able to do different sectors of business. I'm mostly focused on marketing, real estate, design. I would love to get into like maybe like a movie producer or something else. Just completely go to a different genre of business. And then probably just up my game. I try to up my game every year. I got a new camera for next year, so just want to make sure the quality of the podcast gets better every single year. Not just how I speak or the guests I get on, but the graphics, the audio, the visual part of it just continues so it can grow and people will continue to adapt to it and actually grab onto it and want to listen to it every week.
Right. Always got to up your game too.
Oh yeah.
Um, we definitely got to do a part two. But before we wrap it up, what's a powerful message that you could give as motivation?
As motivation. Ooh. Um you're your only you're your hardest critic. And I think a lot of people try to be a people pleaser here in this country. I mean, I feel like social media has made you into that, but you're the only person that is you. So why allow someone else to diminish what you're doing? I think you probably went through this when you started your podcast, people saying, oh, just another podcast, or he's starting another podcast type of deal.
Yeah.
Um, and those are the things that weigh you down and not allow you to be happy and get to the dreams that you have. So just kind of forgetting about what everybody else says and just, you know, have full force, have horse blinders on, and just go straight to that goal.
Right. And that's a good one, especially being a podcaster. That's a real
Yeah.
good one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely. So yeah, we definitely got to do a part two soon.
Absolutely. Just reach out.
All right. I'll definitely keep in touch.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
See ya.
All right. Peace.